This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
Welcome back to the show. We are honored to have our friend Dr. Stephen Katz joining us right now, the founder and president of Dental Excellence Advisory. Welcome to the show today. How are you?
Very good. It's my pleasure to be with you today, Jill.
Well, ecstatic that you're here. Great to meet you, and plus to know that we hail from the same island, the island of Long or Long Island. He's based out of Jericho, New York. I'm out in Holtzville, and excited to talk more about what dental excellence is. It's, a professional consultancy, as you say, for dentists, dental team members, and you're helping so many doctors and their practices. So please introduce yourself and give us a little overview as to what it is that you do.
So I've been in dentistry for over 40 years.
Wow.
And what I love about dentistry is that it gives me the ability to really make a difference in people's lives, my patients, the people who work for me, fellow professionals. I had a very, very successful practice through the 80s and 90s until, unfortunately, I had some personal tragedies and I lost my practice and I had to start over.
Mm-hmm.
And being out of work for a couple of years gave me time to really dial down on what it was that I wanted to accomplish in my professional life when I was able to get back to work. I had to start over, and I had been a student of practice management during that time, so I really had my vision together. And when I came back to work after 2 years of disability, it was exciting to get started with a new vision. And I had a great first week. It was the week of Labor Day in 2001. And then, unfortunately, tragedy hit with 9/11. And so it was not a time where we could really regrow my practice and get started over. So we had to wait.
Mm-hmm.
The spring of 2002, things were starting to pick up, and that was exciting again until a Saturday evening, late Saturday night, 2:30 in the morning, in that spring, I received a phone call from one of my dental assistant's mothers telling me that she had been in a horrible accident. And she had been hit by an out of control drunk taxi driver in Manhattan. She was in a coma. She had lost one leg to her hip. She would likely lose the use of her hands. And so we prayed for her. She did emerge from the coma. And then my team and I decided that though it was not a good time for my practice or us in professionally, that there are only a limited number of times in your life when you can truly make a difference in somebody else's. And we decided to dedicate our practice to her benefit. And over the next 6 months, we were able to raise enough money to buy for my assistant a computerized prosthetic limb, a hand-operated vehicle,
Wow.
and through dentistry, we were able to raise $500,000 and give that to her as a fund to get her life restarted again. And what that gave me was a sense of purpose that going to work each day in a dental office or whatever you do, people go to work. But if you change your sense of purpose and realize that what you're doing can make a difference in people's lives, then it gives you a much greater sense of fulfillment in whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And on the back of that foundation, my practice grew and became almost overnight a multi-million-dollar practice. And it was because I realized do the right thing and things will come back to you. And so my practice grew and became a very award-winning, very recognized practice on Long Island. We had won Best Dental Practice on Long Island 3 years in a row. And then in 2008 and 9, when the economy tanked, I was asked to speak to a couple of study groups of dentists to tell them how I regrew my practice because it would be good information for them with the economy being bad and some bad management among dental professionals. They needed the help, and I enjoyed doing it. A couple of the doctors asked me to come into their office and speak to their teams, and that was fun. And what we noticed was when you do the right thing, the practices grow. And so I started to speak not just locally, but nationally, won some speaking awards. In 2014, I won an award as the best new speaker in dentistry. And what I realized in that experience was that I was limited in my practice to helping my 2,000 patients. And if I spoke to a study group of 25 or 30 dentists, and each had 1,000 patients, I could be helping 30,000 patients. But now, being given the opportunity to be on larger stages with larger audiences, I was speaking before 1,000 or 2,000 dentists. And I realized that that gave me the ability to really affect the care of millions of patients. And so after that, I sold my practice 3 months later. And since January of 2016, I've devoted my professional life to helping doctors grow their practices, not by thinking about the money, but by thinking about how to raise their standard of care, how to get patients to appreciate the value of the care, how to create a better experience, and how to communicate value. And when you do those things, a practice grows organically. And so now, over the last 10 years, I have worked with 160 doctors and their practices, and those practices have grown cumulatively by over $300 million.
Wow. Commending. Amazing story. Dr. Katz, beautiful story about how you're helping really change the world. It's Dr. Stephen Katz here, the founder and president, Dental Excellence Advisory, and we're ecstatic he's here. And I can't believe this. I mean, you are an inspiration, and you're here inspiring now the lives of not only your patients when you used to have your own practice, but now thousands upon thousands of other patients because you're nurturing each and every person in different offices. So, I mean, I've never met
Sure.
anyone like you. I've never interviewed
Thank you.
anyone like you. So I'm honored to know
You
this level of what you're
and
doing.
what I'm in the field of basically practice management. But what I have learned through this experience is that it's not dental management that grows a practice. What grows a practice is improved performance. When you improve performance, and in dentistry, that comes from improving your diagnosis, increasing your ability to have patients accept treatment. When you do that, everyone feels more fulfilled, and then it creates the need for management. So, really, working with practice management is putting the cart before the horse. Improve your ability to create dentistry to be done, to create opportunities for treatment, and then learn how to manage that as you become stressed from the increased volume of your work.
Well, can we talk specifically about the people out there that you're helping change their lives? I've heard some great testimonials and how this is working because you're focusing on the level of care and service, you say, not the revenue. And give me some examples of how you're actually helping educate and how you're changing lives.
So, my professional background, I began my career as an oral maxillofacial surgeon. I was doing trauma surgery, cancer surgery, and the outcomes became disappointing because when you're dealing with patients like that, half of your patients unfortunately end up dying anyway. The other half, with the type of work that I was doing, end up being grossly disfigured. And I wanted to do something more constructive, so I actually went back to being a general and restorative and cosmetic dentist. What I found through that is it's people skills that create your ability to be successful. So if you work on your soft skills, creating relationships, improving communication, understanding how people think, that when you give them an opportunity, there's immediately going to be a reaction where they ask questions. When it's trying to convince patients to accept treatment, a lot of doctors view those questions as the patients not wanting to have that treatment done. When in fact, when they're asking questions, it shows that they really do want it done. They just need help in overcoming some of their personal obstacles and challenges. So it's learning the communication skills to turn those objections into opportunities. So a lot of what I do is communication training and working with doctors. They don't teach us that in dental school on how to communicate well, how to enjoy what we do, how to be a leader. That's why I wrote my book. They didn't teach us that in dental school.
Yes, which I want to
But
talk about. And that's your first book, right?
yes.
Oh my goodness. Well, continue, and then I want to talk about your work too. Yes.
Sure. So when you work through the diagnosis portion, and then you work through the treatment planning portion of it. Now I'm a master in the Academy of General Dentistry, and with my surgery background, I in my practice I did mostly full mouth comprehensive restorative dentistry. But the skills involved to get patients to accept huge cases like that can also be toned down and used to help a patient accept periodontal treatment for gum disease, which can affect their health. It can be used to have a patient understand the value of restoring a tooth now as opposed to waiting when it could become a worse problem with a more questionable outcome. So a lot of what I do is working with communication with the doctors, with how the doctors communicate with their patients, with how the doctors communicate with their support team, when in the hygienist room, how the hygienist and the doctor communicate together,
Hmm.
have the patient realize that, what we're trying to do is not to sell them dentistry, but to help them make better decisions for their own personal health.
Impressive. And by the way, speaking of impressive, I just need to also mention, what people are saying because these testimonials about you, this is Dr. Miguel Casanas. I just want to read some excerpts from what he said. As a client, he says
Mm.
he's had the privilege to work with you and benefit firsthand from his expertise in several critical areas of practice development. Your guidance was instrumental in helping him and, of course, his team evaluate their approach to patient care, practice management. So, everything you're saying, here's the
Dr.
proof.
Castañez is an absolute superstar.
Oh, that's so sweet. See, he gets a little shout out.
Mhm.
Dr. Katz has an exceptional ability to calibrate and improve diagnostic accuracy, ensuring consistency across clinical teams. His strategic insights into treatment planning have enabled us to present comprehensive options that align with patients' goals and improve case acceptance. Beyond his clinical acumen, Dr. Katz's leadership development strategies have significantly strengthened our team dynamics and empowered our doctors to lead more effectively. What truly sets Dr. Katz apart, however, is not just his professional expertise, but his genuine investment in the people he works with. When you collaborate with him, you don't just gain a trusted advisor, you gain a lifelong friend who is deeply committed to your success and growth. His unwavering support and authenticity make him a value partner and cornerstone of any team he works with. Thank you, Dr. Miguel Casanas from
Mhm.
Mineola. I mean, and there's plenty more like this. So everything you're saying, I'm just letting be. There's so many more I could read, but this is just genuine what you do, and I could feel your energy and your excitement and your exuberance just when I got to see you for the first time today. You are passionate about helping people, and you are truly a blessing. And it's
I love what
not
I
many
love what I
people.
do.
I could tell.
And
I could
and
tell.
when you enjoy work, you don't work a day in your life.
Ah.
You know,
Beautifully said.
the one thing
Really.
I also do like is that while I'm engaged with a client, I give it my all. But when our engagement ends, they don't get rid of me so fast. I want them to be successful for years and decades to come. So I stay in touch with every one of the doctors I've worked with on a consistent basis, and I'm just there as a sounding board, as a friend to help their success continue.
Ah, amazing. So we're talking, I can't even count how many hundreds of presentations you've done, helped over probably like 100,000 dentists and members of their teams. And let me ask, you mentioned the book, and I wanted to bring that up as well since it's fresh
Mhm.
on my mind. This was written when? And it was published in 2014, right? So again, tell me
Yes,
the name of it.
it is. They didn't teach us that in dental school.
And tell me a little bit about the book. Tell me what you didn't learn that you should have learned, and what this is sounds exciting.
So it's so important to have a strong clinical training in dental school.
Hmm.
But when you're in school, you are so caught up in the intricacies of the manipulation to do a task that you don't start to put it in the perspective that you're working with people who have different wants and different needs and different attitudes and different life situations. And it takes a long time to learn those skills. I teach at a residency program, and I see how focused they are on just getting that clinical section down. And so that you really don't start to appreciate the need for the other skills until you're already in the heat of battle. And then it's hard. So what I find is, you know, working with, I'll call them varsity doctors who've been in practice for a long time. Many of them get to a point in their career where they haven't achieved all that they could have or would like to because they never
Hmm.
had the
Yeah.
ability to devote time to that. And so, working with a mentor or a coach like myself, it gives them the ability to develop these skills with somebody, that ego sitting on their shoulder and barking into their ear when they have opportunities to improve. With younger doctors, it's extraordinary to be able to take somebody early in their career and help them develop these skills that then they can use for the rest of their professional life. And younger doctors who have the opportunity to take on that type of a commitment to training in the beginning will have the most successful careers of anybody in dentistry.
Wow. Beautiful. And I do want to ask you, is it true you were also the team dentist for the New York Jets?
Yes,
That's an accolade. That amazing. Tell
so I
me.
I was seriously injured playing football when I was younger.
Oh.
Um, I, in order to keep an athletic scholarship in college, I had to switch sports. Now, in football, I was a 240 pound lineman. I was a center. When I switched sports to keep my athletic scholarship, I found that I was too short at 5'8" to be a heavyweight oarsman. I switched to crew. So in college, I had to lose 70 pounds. And I did it, and I had a very successful crew career in college. Great sport, great commitment to training to do so. And then I became an adult and I went back to my natural weight between 240 and 260 most of my professional life, my whole entire adult life. Unfortunately, I had developed diabetes. I was high blood pressure. I've had 7 shoulder surgeries along the way for various injuries, including back when I played
Oh.
football.
Wow.
But 2 years ago, this month, one of my college teammates on crew called me up and said, "Hey, Steve, they're going to be renewing these alumni races at Columbia University. How about getting back in a shell and rowing a race 50 years after we first did it?"
Oh my goodness.
And I said, "Bruce, there's no way. I'm almost 70 years old. I'm out of shape. I've had all these medical issues, blood pressure, diabetes. I've had multiple orthopedic surgeries. There's no way." And being the good teammate he said, "You did it once, you can do it again." And so at 2 years ago this month, I joined a gym near me and I started training 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. Over the course of 18 months, I lost 60 pounds. I got myself into phenomenal condition. And in October, I rode my first 2,000-meter crew race with some alumni, although I was 16 years older than anybody else in that boat. I rode a 2,000-meter race for the first time in 47 years. And the collateral benefits were, not just feeling good and having accomplished that, but it gave me something to have my grandchildren watch me do. For me, I was able to get rid of diabetes and get rid of high blood pressure. I don't take any prescription medications anymore. I'm on a path now to become a personal athletic trainer, which I just enjoy because I spend the time. And this was everything in life is a lesson. The whole situation when I lost my practice and came back, it was a lesson on how we can truly devote ourselves to helping people and making a difference. This lesson was that we make so many excuses of why we can't do something and why we shouldn't do something. And, this was something that 2 years ago would have sounded crazy. And now I found out that by applying it, it was a wonderful path to experience. The accomplishment has been so good that it's led me to believe that there is nothing you can't do without applying yourself and getting some help along the way. And so when I speak to doctors who give me all the excuses of how they don't think they could grow their practice and how they don't think something would work for them because their patients are different from everyone else's, the patients are basically the same. If you apply yourself, there isn't anything that you can't do.
Truly inspirational, motivational. Dr. Stephen Katz, look, I'm 47. I have a 10-year
Mhm.
old, and I was pre-med over at Stony Brook back in 1996. One of the biggest regrets is
Wow.
I never did that. I switched majors, got my master's in this communication field, but there's like an itch in me, and I don't know if I can go back to school to become a doctor at this point. Maybe I can. If not, something in the medical field, something that makes me feel like I'm helping. And I recently just got a job over at a doctor's office, and a friend of mine well, gosh, you might even know him. He's a plastic surgeon, Dr. Stephen Greenberg,
Oh,
and
sure.
I'm literally like with these medical assistants running around learning everything, and I'll eventually do some lead calls, and but
Mhm.
just to get my hand in the mix. And I'm like, maybe it's not too late to go back to like do what my passion. And like I feel like maybe it could be nursing, less schooling, less, with two kids and being single, it's hard, but I'm inspired by your story.
Well,
And I'm
this whole thing with
really,
personal training that I'm getting,
thank you.
I'm at the gym 2 hours a day anyway. And I have friends who go to the gym and they work out with trainers. And what they say is, these wonderfully fit 25 and 30-year-old trainers don't understand how a 65 and 70-year-old body operates,
Mm-mm.
that the restrictions that we have. And so, it's not too late to learn a new skill. I'm excited about becoming a trainer. And it's going to enable me to continue doing something else that I love doing and helping people.
This is amazing. Beautiful work. Now, also, let me just, if you can, give me, someone's out there listening who may be in need of your help with dental excellent advisory. Explain to me the process, how it works, and, how is it just you? Is it a team of you that go into the practice and get started? And what is it like to work
I
with
just
someone
left.
like
I
yourself as a
just,
coach?
yeah, I just left a team environment of coaching because I really wanted to dial down and focus on working with the doctors on just some specific areas.
Mm.
And so, in this work that I'm doing with doctors on improving diagnosis, increasing treatment acceptance, leadership, it's just me at this point in time. And I think that enables me to have the most direct contact with the doctors, their associate doctors, and the clinical members of their team.
Amazing. All right. Well, being this is our first show together, I'm excited. Again, Dr. Katz joining us here live. If you are just tuning in, we are thrilled to have him here, and want to also, clearly, I have a feeling you love life. You are full of life. Is there someone that inspired you, to get to where you are today? Clearly, you're inspiring others. I believe that. But who would you quote? Maybe not quote, I should say. Who would you, want to thank for contributing to your success and made you the person you
I
are?
think there were two people. One was a motivational speaker, Zig Ziglar, And I
Mm-hmm.
love, one of my favorite quotes of his was, you can get anything in life you want if you'll just help enough other people get what they want. The other person who inspired me was my best friend. His name was Mitch Cutler. He was a representative for the dental supply company that I used. And when I lost my practice to tragedy, he called me every single day
Mm.
and he encouraging me and saying, it's going to come together. You're going to feel better. You're going to be able to do what you want to do. And he was right. And then after my practice was growing so much, he was the one who said, why don't I get you in to speak to some groups of dentists and you can inspire them with how you overcame your hardship. Um, Unfortunately, Mitch contracted bone cancer, and he had a difficult ride with that. When he was in hospice care, he called me one night and he said, Steve, would you do me a favor? And I said, what is it, Mitch? I'll do anything for you. He said, I'd like you to write my eulogy and deliver it at my memorial service. I said, oh my God, Mitch, that's a heavy. What do you want me to say? He said, just tell them how I affected you in your life. And so that night, I stayed up all night. I hadn't pulled an all nighter since college, writing my eulogy for my best friend. And then the next morning, I drove up where he lived upstate. It's about a 3-hour drive. Drove up to his house. And when I got there, he was sleeping. So I sat on his bed with him. He woke up and I handed him the piece of paper that had what I had written. And he said, could you do me one favor and could you read it to me? So there I was sitting on the bed of my best friend with him,
Oh,
reading him my eulogy. We hugged and we kissed. I left. And that night he passed away, surrounded by his family, his wife, his children, his parents. But what that experience taught me was that you should never ever wait to tell people you love them, that you care about them, and what you appreciate about them. So that you should be telling people how much you appreciate them every day of your life. And so for those who are on watching this webinar now, what I'd say is, you know, immediately when we finish, take out your cell phone if you're not with your your partner in life, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, and give them a call or write them a text and tell them that you love them. And when you're with the rest of your family, tell them that you love them as well. When you get back to your office, tell your team, the people who work with you, how much you appreciate all that they do. And then tell your patients how much you appreciate the fact that they've put their trust in you. And when you do that, there is no greater currency than appreciation to show people how much you care.
so beautiful. What a beautiful, inspiring story. Ah, I was with my mom in the end when she passed. I got to hold her hand when she passed to lung cancer 7 years ago. But you're right.
Yeah.
You need to tell everyone you love them each and every day and shed light. And by the way, I should mention, I was reading you're happily married. You have 3 daughters. You have grandchildren too?
Yes, yes, I do.
How many?
I have 3 grandchildren. Uh, I have 3 daughters, so I have a grandson. So I finally have a little boy to play with. And I have two, granddaughters who are less than a year old. One of them is turning a year in a few weeks. And there's nothing better. Being a consultant, a coach is very much like being a grandparent.
Wow,
You
yeah.
you go to them, you tell them how much you love them, you pat them on the head, you play with them for a little bit, you try to give them some knowledge, and then you go home and you hope that they're going to lead the best life possible.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Beautiful spending time with you today. Thank you for doing so much for
My
so many
pleasure, but I'm going to ask
people.
if I can just say one more thing before people get off this call. Take out your cell phone, write that text, make that call to the person who's most important to you in your life and tell them you love them.
Thank you, Dr. Katz. Dr. Katz, tell us how we can reach you and, of course, Dental Excellence Advisory as well.
Sure. I guess that's how to reach me.
And
By helping dental practices grow one tooth, one quadrant, one arch at a time. My phone number is 516-524-7573, and the email is drkatz@dentalexcellenceadvisory.com.
beautiful. Thank you so much. You have a fantastic day. And
You
thank you for
too.
inspiring so many. Pleasure getting to know you, Dr.
Thank
Stephen
you. I
Katz.
appreciate spending the time with you today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.